Hello, hello, wherever you are in the world. My name is Agnes van Rhijn. I am a life and business reinvention mentor at Success on Your Own Terms, and I am the founder of the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show. Today, I'm absolutely delighted to be interviewing Debbie Sodergren, and Debbie is an energy medicine practitioner, and she is the owner of Up Vibrations. She has a deep understanding of the body, mind, and spirit connection, and she knows that we are all connected, that every step loves how infinite possibilities ties this all together. Debbie enjoys it when people find the joy of thinking and actively creating what they want most in their life. Welcome to the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show, Debbie. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me today.
It's my pleasure. I'm really delighted to hear your story and have you inspire our listeners to go after their dreams. So tell us more about you. How did your journey start? Where do you want to start?
Oh, goodness. So my journey started actually when I was very young. When I was 4 years old, I had open heart surgery twice.
Oh.
Yeah. So I had it the first time, and my stitches did not stay closed when they moved me from the operating table onto the gurney. My stitches had torn. So when my mom came to see me, she was like, her color is off. And the doctor came in and confirmed that, yes, we need to go in and do surgery again. During my second surgery, I believe I've had an out-of-body experience. So I left my body. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I knew that I was coming back, and I knew that I had a purpose. I knew that I had something deep inside that needed to come out, and I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I knew that I was going to, just kind of beat to my own drum kind of thing growing up, and that's exactly what I did. And it's just the DNA of how I'm put together, and I've continued that way.
Wow, that's impressive. I mean, I do hear a lot of stories, obviously, but what a young age to experience something like that, and amazing that you have such a vivid memory of it.
Yeah, everyone is born with a hole in their heart, and at my kindergarten physical, my doctor had noticed that it sounded strange, so he sent me to a specialist, and they confirmed that my hole didn't close all the way. So that's why I had the surgery. Yep.
Wow. So from a very young age, you have that knowledge that you're there for a specific reason. And so from there, how did things evolve?
Well, from there, I had a normal upbringing. I was very blessed to be surrounded with family, my parents, my siblings, my grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins. It was a wonderful upbringing. I like to refer to it as a tribal upbringing, because if I was doing something and it wasn't what I was supposed to be doing, a family member, whether it was a grandparent or an aunt and uncle, were very quick to step in and say, hey, knock that off, kind of thing. So, yeah.
So, is there a moment where you consciously started thinking, hey, I can make a business out of this special knowledge that I have? Or is that something that you rolled into more or less?
Well, as I grew up, I had dreams and goals like anybody. And I knew I went to college for a year, a traditional United States college for a year. And I realized that for me, I felt like I was spinning my wheels. They really didn't have subject area that I was really interested in. So I chose to not go back after my first year of college. And I got a job, and I worked full time, and I decided I wanted to be a travel agent. I love I love to travel, wanted to see the world. So I made it happen. I worked full time. I lived with my grandparents, and I, really worked hard to get my travel certification. At that time, the only job that I could really get in my putting out my application was at a car rental agency that was located at the airport. So I took the job there knowing my full intentions were I wanted to get on with an airline at that time. So what I did was during my lunch breaks, I would go over and talk to the agents behind the ticket counters of all the airlines. And lo and behold, before you know it, there was an opening, and I interviewed for it, and I was accepted for the position. So I worked at the airport for a while, and at that point decided, I want to do something more with an airline. And there was a position that opened up in marketing, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So that was my mindset early on in my 18, 19, 20-year-old self.
So very driven.
Yes, very driven. And I interviewed for the job, and I got the job. So then I moved from where I was located to a city I didn't know anybody. And the airline put me up in a hotel for a couple weeks to get myself established so that I could go to work. And in the meantime, I would hit the paper, and I ended up renting a house with 3 other roommates because I love to be surrounded by people. I don't like to be alone. I'm a Gemini. I love all the chaos. I love interaction. And so I rented a bedroom in a home with 3 other roommates. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I'm still friends with those people to this day.
Yeah.
And so I worked at the airlines until I decided that I started a department in revenue control and pricing. I wrote the manuals for it. I hired 3 people. And at that point, I knew it was time to move on to something else because I wasn't feeling fulfilled. So I was very connected to my intuition. And when I felt like I wasn't I felt like, well, this isn't fulfilling me anymore, I was ready to move on to the next thing. So for me, my next thing was I left that job and I got on with a temporary agency, a temporary employment agency, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. They gave me a job working as a receptionist someplace. I was there 2 weeks, and I thought, I need to use my brain. This is too simple for me. It wasn't fulfilling. So then I got on. They put me into a company called Lego. They had their U.S. headquarters in the town that I lived in, and I got on with Lego. And what I would do is during my lunch breaks, being who I am, I would go to the different departments, and I ended up really enjoying going down to where they made the Lego models. And I really liked the marketing department. So eventually there was an opening in the marketing department, and I put myself out there for it, and I got the job. So I just loved this dance with the universe. I was very cognizant that, wow, when I put my thought into something, I can pretty much get it.
So you were a very good manifester.
I was a really good manifester, yes. And I knew someday I wanted to have a family. I knew that I wanted to be a mom. And again, I found a great guy, and I've had 3 beautiful children that I've raised. And through the process of this, raising my kids at home was really hard. And I was frustrated because that's what I wanted. Why am I so miserable? I was an at-home mom. I had it was the luxury to be at home while my husband, went out to work. And we knew that that's what we wanted. We wanted one of us to stay home with the kids. And at the time, his income was more than mine. And so I just stayed home, and I was supposed to be loving it. But I was miserable. I was feeling frustrated. I was short-tempered. I was almost, my husband would say, why are you angry all the time? When, to him it looked like anger, but to me it was frustration. And I felt like I had lost my voice. I felt like I did a lot of work, and there wasn't anything really there to compensate me for it. There was nobody there to give me a raise. There was nobody there to pay me. There was nobody there. And I understood the role of being an at-home mom. I truly did. It was the hardest job I ever did. I like to put on my income tax forms at the time so that it made me feel good. I used to put manager of domestic affairs. Because, right? Just because it was frustrating for me that I felt like I was a nobody.
Yeah, so something was missing.
Just a mom kind of thing. Here I was making sure people made their appointments, making sure people left the house with what they needed, So I was scheduling appointments, taking care of everything, doing the grocery shopping, doing the laundry. Not to say he didn't help out. He did. When he was home, he was a hands-on dad. So I had opportunities a couple times a year where I would just say, I gotta go recharge my battery. And I would go visit with a girlfriend for a long weekend and totally unplug from the family, which I think is a really healthy thing to do. And again, here was another limiting mindset for me where the first time I did it, I kind of felt like I was being selfish.
Yeah, of course.
How dare me take time to myself?
How dare you?
Right? So that was a huge lesson that I had to work on in myself. And I had to do some research and some self-study and really figure out, why do I feel this way? This really isn't true. And then had to get rid of it. And voila, I went and saw a Tibetan monk called Thich Nhat Hanh in the early 90s. It was like 1991. And he spoke to me. He talked to me, I was in a large group, but I felt like he was talking to me. And his message that I heard from him that day was, when you're doing the dishes, be thankful for the hot running water. Be thankful for the family that you are doing those dishes for. Be thankful for those dishes. He really brought it down to staying present and staying in the moment and being mindful.
Mindfulness.
And so from that point, when I got back home, there was a community college close to me. And I started taking a night class here and there in some psychology stuff. And my instructor was actually a parapsychology instructor. And she was also teaching parapsychology classes. Well, I felt like I hit the mother lode, like somebody spoke my language, was able to actually articulate how I felt inside. And that's what I was interested in. I was interested in the metaphysics. I was interested in the energy work, how we are more than just a human being. We are a spiritual being having a human experience. And so I took every class this woman had to offer at her school. And I went there for 6 years and she graduated me.
Debbie, may I interrupt you? More or less, what age were you then?
So at that point, I had started having my children. I had left Lego, took a maternity leave, started having my kids, and they've always invited me to come back, but my role was to raise my children. So I was in I want to say, I had my first child at 27, so it was between the ages of 27 and 33, 34.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So I went to night school. And what happened was I would put my children to bed early, and even if they were allowed to play in their room for a little bit and then go to bed, that's what I did. I had a babysitter come in. So when I left, there was somebody there with my children if it wasn't my husband, if he was traveling. And she would be with them. So my classes usually started around 7 and they ended at 9 o'clock at night, and I'd come home and my sitter would drive herself home. So I took care of myself in that way, and I felt like I was contributing again. I felt like I was being spiritually fed. I felt like writing my papers, somebody was listening to me. I got really good grades. I graduated Phi Theta Kappa, which is a national honor society. I had high honors. I went to Washington, D.C. I really felt like I found my calling. I was like, okay.
And so Debbie existed again.
I felt like I existed. I found out who I was again. I tapped into who I thought I was when I was younger. And I grew up and, society had its impressions on me. But growing up, I always did things differently. I looked at things differently. And my family and friends would say, oh, that's just Deb. She's just a little different. I accepted that. I was like, you know what? Bring it, because I'm okay with being me. I don't want to fit in. I want to be a pioneer. I want to be a role model. I want to do things my way. And it doesn't mean that everybody has to accept it or everybody has to agree with it. But if we can agree that we disagree, what a great place to be. Yeah.
Amazing. Beautiful story. I like it because I'm all about people reinventing themselves. And that's exactly what you're telling us. You reinvented your life, basically. You took charge and sat in the driver's seat.
I did, to the point where my husband my husband's an airline pilot. He flies airplanes for a living. He's very, conservative in a way where he operates off a checklist. And then he marries me and accepts me for who I am. And we raise our children and we give them the best of both of us. Mm-hmm. And we raise our children to be themselves. They are, if you've met our three children, they're very different from one another. They march to their own beat, and we raise them to, whatever you're interested in life, go with it. Mm-hmm. We want you to be happy. If you're happy in whatever you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. That doesn't mean that they have their own struggles. That doesn't mean that they're finding their way, because they are. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. As a mom, it's hard to watch them struggle with some things, but again, it's part of their process. So I'm here for them. I love them. I'll be there for them for whatever they need. But I also extend to them that this is their journey, and I honor them for who they are. I don't always agree with some of the decisions that they make, but I honor them that it's their decisions.
Yeah.
So
you recognize them as separate human beings.
Yeah, even though in my mind and in my heart, they're just an extension of me that are living somewhere else there.
Interesting. So you studied for 6 years. And what next?
So, yes, they graduated me. So I have a certificate from the New England School of Metaphysics. I've talked with different professors over the years. I live in New England. New England is very heavily steeped in academia. Mm-hmm. And so I've always struggled in my mind until recently with, should I go back and get a traditional degree, even though they really don't have what I'm doing out there. My old school that I went to for 1 year, I did go to their website recently, and they do have a wellness 4-year degree program. But where I'm at in my life, and I've talked with other professors about this who have PhDs, and basically they've explained it to me this way. They said, all the classes that you've taken, they were by a woman who had her master's. She was, in fact, a teacher, and you passed all her classes. And going there for 6 years was like getting your master's. Doing the work that you did, getting your certifications, you've basically worked on a thesis when you've written your book. Yep. You created a book, a 4-week program where you are teaching people about meditation and awareness. That basically is your thesis. So congratulations.
Good point.
You've done really well. So don't get caught up in that piece of paper. You have other things that are fulfilling you. Continue on your path, get your message out there, and don't get caught up in measuring yourself up to what other people are doing. Be your authentic self, and people will recognize that, and don't let yourself get lost. And I really needed to hear that, because that's what I've always believed. But now that I have so much time on my hands, with my book is published, all my children are out living their lives, I think about, well, geez, should I do this? Should I do that? So it's really nice that I have a mastermind group of different people that I love and respect, who are looking out for my best interest, can tell me, stop, clear, get that thought out of there. Just keep moving forward. Don't look backwards.
So there are a lot of interesting things in what you're saying. So to start with, I love the fact that you refer to this comparison that we tend to make, where others have labels, I would say, whatever nature of labels, and that we tend to disregard the experience that we've built up that potentially can lead us to the same results. And I've had something similar for a certain part of my journey. And I think it's really interesting that you mentioned that, because I've heard so many women saying, but I can't, I don't have the experience. But when they say experience, they mean the label that says, the stamp that says, yes, you can. And in fact, when we then break out in pieces what it is that what skills they should have, etc., what they should display. If they look back then at their past experience, they have it already. So not to say that any form of certification, etc., is not valid, but it's not always needed. It's not what should stop you from moving forward. And then I love the driven part that you definitely have displayed in your life. I also love the fact that you are talking about a mastermind group. I would love you to tell us a bit more about that. I personally am absolutely convinced that being in a support group basically is making such a difference.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for those wonderful confirmations. So thank you. And as women, that's another thing that we struggle with. We struggle with accepting somebody giving us a compliment. We always want to discount it, or we just want to poo-poo it, and I'm here to say, don't stop. Everybody, women, we're doing a disservice to the young girls that are coming up. You know, teach them how to take a compliment. And how you do that is you nod your head, you smile, and you say thank you.
Thank you. You have a beautiful dress. Oh, it's a very old one. I bought it 20 years ago.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
All the time. No, I love it.
Or, oh my God, I love your hair. It's like, oh, I didn't really do anything to it. You know, we just need to stop doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Yeah. Men never do that.
No,
so,
absolutely not. No, I agree.
Yeah, so it's a limiting belief that society has taught us that we need to release and send back out into the world. So the Mastermind group, I think, so I graduated from the New England School of Metaphysics back in 1998. Since then, I hold myself accountable by going out there and doing 2 or 3 workshops a year in my field of study, which is metaphysics. And I go see different people, and I try to keep up with what's going on, what's new, what's coming into the field, how is science catching up to what we're doing. Because for me, in my mind's eye and in my heart, I've always felt like metaphysics is here and science is here. This is where they need to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is what they need to do. And now it's finally coming closer to closer. If you look in, excuse me, I'm getting over a terrible cold. If you look into a lot of the journals, the New England Journal of Medicine, there are some studies now being done at some of the major universities, Harvard, Yale, UConn, University of Wisconsin, on how they're able to come up with research and ways to measure the quantum effects that mindfulness meditation has, or transcendental meditation, or even other things. There's this thing called Carillion photography that measures your auric field, which is your energy field around your physical human body. So I'm really happy to take these classes on myself and do these workshops and keep up with what's going on. And what I've noticed over the years is a lot of doctors, Dr. Eben Alexander, who had an out-of-body experience, he had a near-death experience actually, Dr. Norm Shyle, a lot of doctors had patients coming to them and saying, you know, I don't really know if that helped, but I did go see an acupuncturist. What do you think about acupuncture? Or what do you think about chiropractic? So those doctors, I talked with Norm Shyle, and he actually went out there and went to see a chiropractor or went to see an acupuncturist to see what his clients
were experiencing.
Yeah. So, and then of course, being a doctor, being a neurosurgeon the way he was, he had the research monies behind him where he could do a study on the effects of whatever complementary modality that he was researching at the time. So I like the fact that that is finally coming together more and more. And what I like also is in the process of all of this, there's been all of these things popping up. Besides, if I hold a meditation group or a Reiki share, those are the things that support me in my practice. But now there's these networking opportunities that are available. And one of them I love is one called eWomen Network.
Oh,
and Yeah, what I love about it is I'm able to connect with like-minded women who are either raising children. They have a lot of different demographics about them. The thing that we have in common is we are small business owners, and we are all trying to help each other get our businesses off the ground so that they're sustainable to us, so that we are making our own path. We are standing in our truth and shining what we are good at. And it's not a competition. So in that group, you meet a whole bunch of women who have an expertise in a different piece of business who can help you with it. And from that group, you can then choose to connect what I call a mastermind. A very small group, a handful of women, it could be anywhere from 10 to 12 women.
Mm-hmm.
You make a commitment to each other to check in with each other, hold each other accountable, and help each other build your businesses. And it's not just about the business building. What happens is you get a support structure that helps you when you have something going on in your family. We all have children that are going through the bumps of growing up. We have families where our parents are going through the idea of the aging process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, life stands in the way.
Yeah. So we're kind of sandwiched between those two. And in the process of all that, we still need to hold our stuff together, along with if we're in a marriage or if we're running our business. Some of us are trying to get a business off the ground and are working full time. I don't know how those women do it, along with having a family. I tip my hat to them. And people ask me, how did you do it? You were going to school at night. You had 3 small children. Your husband was gone a lot. You know, when I look back on it, I took care of myself. I had girlfriends that I could call that could be there for me, whether it was let's drink a bottle of wine kind of night, or it was, let's go out and kick off our shoes and dance the night away. But I surrounded myself with women at that time that fed my soul that way. And now I'm in a different phase of my life, and I'm surrounding myself with women who are small business owners. They're entrepreneurs, and we are supporting each other with our businesses, but we're also supporting each other because we want to be there for each other. It's a deeper, beautiful connection.
I really love all those tips, in fact, that you were referring to. It's they're very, very valuable. This notion of radical self-care, of taking care of your own needs first, then knowing how to create the support system or find it that will help you move forward. As you say, life can stand in the way. So of course, when things happen, knowing that well, in your case, women are there, but also this notion of collaboration, this notion of we don't have to compete, and we are so much stronger when we collaborate. That's really been one of my leitmotifs over the probably last decade or so, if not more. So I thank you for referring to all of that. You were really preaching to the converted as far as I'm concerned. So I love it when people tell me the same. Debbie, time is stretching, goes extremely fast, and I would love you to tell us where people can find you, and maybe when you do it, also tell us maybe quickly who your ideal clients are, so that people can recognize themselves and say, "Hey, yes, that's where I should be."
Sure, thank you. I have a website, and my website is www.debbiesodergren.com. So I know it's a mouthful to spell. I also have another web address. It's the name of my company, and it's www.upvibrations.com.
That's an easier one.
That's an easier one, yes. And on my website, I'm actually giving away a free grounding meditation. It's about 5 minutes long. So if that's something that you'd like to experience for free, get a little more taste of me, head on over to my website, www.debbie, Sodergren.com. And you'll see where you can fill in your name and your email address. And it'll prompt you to confirm it. And then you'll get your free grounding audio that you can download onto your computer or onto your smartphone, and you can take it with you. And I encourage you to figure out how to ground yourself, how to do 3 cleansing breaths, and get to know who you are. Because in the society that we live in, we're very busy with being plugged in, and we're very busy with taking care of everybody else. And in the process, we kind of decline. And I don't want that to happen anymore. I want to inspire people to get to know who you are. And I've been teaching my meditation class since I graduated, when I downloaded the information for my book back in 1998. I sat on it all those years, teaching my class word of mouth. People found out about me. They'd get 5 or 6 people together, come into my home, and I would teach a class. Mm-hmm. When my kids were more independent, I hung my shingle out there. And I'm now teaching my classes through adult ed centers in my area. And my goal is to get my class available as a self-study course on my website. So stay tuned. I will be having that very, very soon. That is my next endeavor that I'm working on. I'm all about wanting to help people. And I talked about my book. So this is my book, and this is my journal. And in the book, it's a 4-week breakout of my meditation class. Mm-hmm. And in the journal, part of my process of how I was taught was, anytime you do inner work, it's really important to journal. And what journaling does is it helps you to get in touch with you, your inner you. Who is it you are? Ask yourself these questions. Who am I? What do I really want? And as you ask yourself these questions, you get to know who you are, and you get to tap into your authentic self. So even though somebody else says to you, possibly, well, now that your kids are grown, you have all this time on your hands, are you going to get a job? The answer is, that doesn't work for me. Not for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to stay true to my authentic self. If that's your judgment, then I allow them to own it. But that's not me. Yeah. So I'm staying true to who I am. I'm happy. I volunteer in my community. If you are having a tough time and you're stressed out, my number one recommendation to my clients, I coach people. I have a 12-week coaching program that I coach people with. You can find out all about all of this on my website. Mm-hmm. And my number one thing that I tell somebody is, when you're stuck in your own stuff, get out there and volunteer. If it's for 3 hours or an hour. If you like animals, go to an animal shelter. I'm a Reiki Master Teacher, so I volunteer at my local hospital. I go in once a week. I try to get there once a week. And I go in and I do Reiki on the patients that are there. And I also chart the information so that the doctors that are, and the nurses and the staff that are looking through the files can see how somebody went down on their pain meds after they had Reiki, or that their spirits were lifted. Mm-hmm. So
fantastic.
There's something about giving to somebody else unconditionally that fills you up inside. You know, another thing I like to do is, I have friends that are going through very trying times in their lives, whether they're a first-time empty nester, or if they're going through a divorce. I still don't know how to cook small meals. Just don't know how to do it.
No feeling.
What I do is I cook these huge meals, and I divvy them up and I drop them off as a gift. It can be that simple. Yeah. It comes from your heart, and that's what matters.
This is, I have to stop you, because people will stop listening if it's too long, although you are very inspiring. So yeah, I do love the fact that you refer also to this clarity that you need to have about you, who you are. And I know that my program starts with that, and I had a discussion yesterday with somebody who said, but I don't know, it must be so tough to start with that. I said, yes, but it's foundational. It's conditioning all the rest. That's why we start with it. And I'm here to help. Don't worry, we'll make it. But anyway, this has been really, really, really inspiring. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed this a lot. Valuable information in there. And well, I really, truly hope that the listeners will be as inspired by you than I was. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you, Anya.